Back in the distant past, way back line, when rock and roll was just rock and fast food was dinner you couldn't catch, lived two cave dudes named Joe and Mac. Whether it was dinosaur demolition or pterodactyl hang gliding, life for the boys was pretty cool. Cool, that is, until a bogus bunch of Neanderthal nerds crashed their village and scared off all the cave babes. Now the cave babes are out there, somewhere, lost and really lonely. So what are you waiting for? It's up to Joe and Mac to get them back. And this is Joe and Mac from Data East in 1992, part of the Joe and Mac franchise, because apparently it was a big enough deal that there was multiple of these. Originally released as Caveman Ninja, a 1991 platform game for the arcade by Data East, later adapted to the Super Nintendo, Genesis, NES, Game Boy, Amiga, Zeebo, Switch, and PC. The game stars green-haired Joe and blue-haired Mac, caveman, who battle through numerous prehistoric levels using weapons such as boomerangs, bones, fires, flints, electricity, stone wheels, and clubs. The objective of the game is to rescue a group of women who are kidnapped by a rival tribe of cavemen. The game features a health system by which the player loses health over a period of time apart from during boss fights. Two-player mode is available, and in some versions both characters are capable of damaging each other. The original version, the Amiga, Genesis, Zeebo DOS ports have the distinction of allowing the player to select between different routes at the end of boss battles. Also, after defeating the final boss, you can choose between 3 exits, each one leading to a slightly different ending sequence. It's been ported to various systems, some of which drop the name Caveman Ninja, like this one, referring to the game simply as Joe and Mac. The Super NES version was developed and published in '91 by Data East. That same year, another version was developed by Eden Entertainment Software and published by Takara for the Genesis. In December 1992, a year after the Super Nintendo one, the NES version was released. It was developed by Elite Systems and published by Data East. A Game Boy version was released in North America and the UK in '93, which was developed by Motive Time and published by Data East. According to this, the Genesis version is a closer match to the arcade version. The SNES version reworked some of the features, such as an overworld map to choose levels. Levels were longer, some bonus stages, some of the weapons are missing and can no longer be charged up. The final boss is different. There are 2 endings, and the NES and Game Boy versions lack the option of choosing levels or endings. Both feature variants of the arcade bosses. Kyle Knight of All Game rated the arcade version 2.5 stars out of 5, and wrote that it's an adequate but an uninspired action game. The graphics are easily Caveman Ninja's high point. Both background and character graphics are drawn well and finely detailed, while the coloring is generally lush and vivid. However, Knight criticized the easy difficulty of the game because of its short levels. The levels are practically over as soon as they begin. Knight also called the game's music dull and uninspired, as well as boring and repetitive. So that's where we're starting. Superplay magazine gave the SNES version a 72%, praised its colorful graphics, but also wrote, "The snag is that there isn't a lot to hold your interest. The appeal starts to flag after a few minutes. The collision detection is annoying as well, tending to give baddies the benefit of the doubt in any clash of heads. I'm afraid this, coupled with the awkward controls, soon saw me adopting a couldn't-care-less attitude towards the game." British television program Bad Influence gave the SNES version 4 out of 5. Tony Dillon of CU Amiga, that's the Amiga version, we don't care. Any other SNES stuff here in the reception? Game Boy, Amiga, Genesis, we read that one, NES. Entertainment Weekly compared the US release to the Japanese version and wrote that the game's sexual content that, quote, "all that is pictured during the initial display is a hut that quickly fades into the title screen, allowing players to commence the cartoony prehistoric action." Data East USA said, "We didn't want kids to see the Japanese display and think it was okay." Apparently, there's sex in the Japanese version? Who knows? The game was followed by various sequels. The Japanese version of the SNES game, Congo's Caper, was presented as a sequel and featured a new protagonist. The title duo would later return in Joe and Mac 2 Lost in the Tropics, which added light role-playing aspects to the series. An arcade sequel titled Joe and Mac Returns eschewed the scrolling action of the original games in favor of other games similar to Data East like Tumble Pop. November 2009, Golgoth Studio announced plans to reboot the series following their completion of a Toki remake. No further information has been released as of this year, 2018. Joe and Mac also appeared in a German Mario comic titled Super Mario something in German. Here's Joe and Mac is a pretty game. It's a very pretty game. It is not fun to play. I've never enjoyed the Joe and Mac games. Someone mentioned hit detection. It's all over the place. The second one isn't much better. and we're going to look at it later, but for now, if you want a good, solid platformer, kind of prehistoric-y based for the Super Nintendo, I hesitate to say Chuck Rock is better. Chuck Rock is better, but nothing's going to beat Super Adventure Island if that's what you're looking for.